So my friend gave Oshi No Ko a 6 out of 10. And let me explain why. So a little bit about my friend's background in terms of his preference to taste is he likes Attack on Titan, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Last of Us, Life of Pi, Alien. Like that is the type of stuff that he likes. So in my mind I'm like, okay, he likes Attack on Titan. This man must definitely like Oshi No Ko. So I showed him the anime aesthetics and he's like, oh, I can't get into the anime aesthetics, but I still forced him to watch it with me because I thought for sure, that this is a man who's going to fully appreciate something like this, because most people would agree with me that Oshi No Ko is like an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 for most people. But he gave it a 6 out of 10. This is why. So in Oshi No Ko, there are 4 instances for me personally that I thought would definitely hook people in. These are the 4 instances, and obviously spoiler alerts for everything that I've just mentioned. So, first, I thought for sure that the reincarnation of, the doctor was gonna be something that would hook him in. That did not hook him in. I thought for sure the second scene was when he absolutely annihilated that child prodigy during the acting scene in the forest was gonna be something that would hook him in too. No, absolutely not. Didn't hook him in. He was like, that's it? And then I was like, alright, for sure the thing's gonna hit him is the scene where the mother dies. Like, I thought for sure that was going to be the scene that hooks him in. But it wasn't. And I'm like, alright, there's still one more chance. We still have one more chance. I thought for sure that when the kid comes to the revelation that there must have been someone that leaked their whereabouts so that the killer could find them, was that it had to be the dad. And then it became like a revenge story. I thought for sure that would hook him in. But it didn't. So at no point in time did he decide that that was good enough for him. And I was like, what the hell, really? He's like, yeah, no, at most he could give it was a 6 out of 10. And this is the reason why. Actually, these are the reasons why. So, first thing he talked about was the relationship with the kid to the mother was not believable whatsoever. He was talking about the mother son-daughter relationship is so overplayed, and I'm like, alright, that's true, it's pretty overplayed. It's a very basic, feeling that you yourself would have with, your kids, and it's like definitely overplayed. But he was talking about how it got mullied and sullied by the fact that they're fans of their mother as an idol already. So it wasn't just a normal mom and son relationship. It was, they already liked her as an idol, which was super unrealistic for kids to have. So he's talking about how there's just such an unbelievable relationship dynamic with the kids to the mom. And I'm like, alright, fair enough. So he wanted something more grounded. And I'm like, understandable. A little bit cliche, a little bit grounded, but I'm like, alright, but come on. They loved her before they were their kids. It was like idol love, and that's like, yeah, it's super unrealistic. So then we fast forward it to a scene where mom dies. And I thought for sure, alright, come on, like, this has to be it. Like, no one could have seen this coming. Because at that point, like, most people would have thought that the main character, I, was gonna be the main character. We all thought, and I'm pretty sure most people thought that she was the main character because this whole show spent so much time building her up, following her career. Like, I thought for sure that was gonna be a shocker. And my friend said, yeah, I mean, she did die, and he wasn't expecting it, but he was talking about how her death was wasted, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean by that? He's basically saying that when the director or the people writing the script decides to kill a character, it's usually meant to be done when 1, the character's storyline has been fully come to a close, and 2, in order to progress the storylines of other characters. And he was talking about how I, as a character, had so much untapped potential that they could have played around with a bit more before they killed her off. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? So, he was talking about this. He was saying how we already knew I, as a character, completely, as in there's no more room for growth. her career as an idol, her career going through and as an idol, it was all very predictable. Like, she was gonna make it to the top, you know, the show was setting her up to be the very top. Like, her character arc was essentially fully fleshed out. There was nothing more that the developers could technically do to progress her character arc. And I'm like, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's true, but like, they spent so much time on her. Didn't her dying, like, you know, catch you off guard? Like, didn't her last scene with her, you know, crying and finally being able to say I love you to her kids, wasn't that like heart gripping, like shock value? And he's like, no. He's like, it's super unbelievable. I'm like, wait, what do you mean by that? He's talking about how, like, in real life, if you're dying, you're not going to be talking to your kids soft-spoken, being like, oh, I wish you guys are going to do well, have a good health. And he's like, no, I want people screaming and, like, freaking out. Like, that's more believable. I'm like, wait, really? He's like, yeah, like, nobody has a relationship like that in the world. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, no one has this type of parent-mother relationship where they're on such great terms and nothing's ever gone wrong and the kids fully love their kids. Like, this is like fantasy. He's like, this is unbelievable, unrealistic. And I'm like, and when you think about it, and you're like, oh shit, he has a kind of a point. You know, there's no childhood that ever goes by smoothly. And I'm like, all right, sure, good point. I'm like, really, that's it? That's not enough for you whatsoever? And he's like, no, completely unrealistic fantasy world, like Disney. Like, this is like the fairy tale story. Like, none of this ever makes sense. And he's like, this just completely takes me out of the story. And I'm like, really? That took you out of the story? And he's like, yeah, this took me out of the story. Like, I could not relate with the story whatsoever because it's so unrealistic. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And then I'm like, wait, then what about the revelation that the only person that could have leaked their whereabouts potentially is now it's going to be a revenge story with trying to figure out who their dad is? And then he was like, no, because at this point, sure, there's the mystery about the dad left, about who dad is, but then he was saying that at that point, there's just nothing that mysterious to begin with. He's saying, like, the only thing driving the plot is just who's the dad, and that's it, and there's nothing else. And I'm like, really? That's it? He's like, yeah, there's like nothing else driving the plot except for the fact that they potentially could just find their dad. And that's it. And I'm like, as I spoke with him more, I started to kind of understand how his thought processes differs from most of our thought process. And then when I realized is my friend, he is truly a reviewer of reviewer connoisseur. What I mean by that, he's the type of person who will not watch a movie, or he will watch a movie, and if he does watch the movie, he'll then go into the back and watch YouTubers review the movie and go into detail, and he really likes his symbolic, just deeper meaning type of stuff. Like, for example, he likes Junji Ito, and he doesn't like it because of just the artwork. He was talking about how the artwork of Junji Ito covers for more symbolic meaning. So he was basically saying how those movies, Junji Ito, Alien has a lot of, you know, layers to it, Life of Pi, and just the surface level is horror, like Alien or Junji Ito. The surface level is horror, but the deeper meaning underneath is just many layers. And when he talked to me about that, I'm like going like, oh my god, Oshi No Ko is for the masses. Oshi No Ko is catered to the masses. Oshi No Ko is not supposed to be catered to someone who's got such a specific taste in the artistic vision of the artist. Because the author of Oshi No Ko did Kaguya-sama Love is War, and you can tell that from that experience, he's able to really create a heartfelt story that a lot of people can kind of relate with. Kaguya-sama, very easy, you know, a story of trying to get each other to confess with each other. Very simple, but, you know, understandable. Very relatable. Even in the current anime that we have with Oshi No Ko, you know, having someone that you like, an idol, you know, wanting to cheer that person on, all that stuff is also very, very relatable for most people. But then once you throw in the little plot twist of, mom ain't staying with us, she deado, then you're like, wait, whoa, what is this? And then it really pulls you in and encapsulates you in it. It's just that, unfortunately, for my friend, it's just really unrealistic. But for us, as, our fellow just pleb connoisseurs, for the less refined taste, it's actually very, very interesting because I don't think too hard about it when I go into it. I don't try to look for the deeper meaning. I don't try to look for all the nuances, the hidden text. I don't look for any of that. I just sit through and enjoy. And I think that's the reason why most people like Oshi No Ko, because it's a very simple and digestible story that a lot of people can get behind. There's not too much deeper meaning required for you to be able to comprehend a story of like, oh, these kids, reborn, they remember their past life. Oh, mom's an upcoming idol. Oh, mom's dead. And then like, wait, why did mom die? And you're like, oh, someone leaked their whereabouts. And you're like, Dad. And then you're like, oh, I'm hooked in. A simple to follow storyline with not too much deeper meaning. Very linear. It's a linear, but it's a good linear. My friend, though, doesn't like that because 2 reasons. 1, completely unpredictable in the sense that it's just no symbolism at the moment. But he did say, though, there was basically no sign of symbolism, no deeper layer, no other meaning. It was just as is. But he did say that he did see a lot of YouTube videos already that talked about all those different situations of symbolism, at least on YouTube. So he's saying maybe he's wrong, but just from the first impression of the first episode, he's not impressed. 6 out of 10 max. And it was really funny because that conversation led to me trying to really understand what his mindset is. His thought process is everything has to have a reason, and if there's no reason for it, it's one of those situations where you just can't get behind it. It's one of those things that if you're a reviewer, it is really hard to stick to a show you're analyzing it to make it hard to stick with certain shows. Exactly. Since my friend, he just likes to find interesting shows. It's either got to be very thought-provoking, a lot of symbolism, deeper layers. And he even said, like, even with horror movies, even if it doesn't have like deep layers and thoughts, there has to be something that stands out with it. For example, he was talking about the movie A Quiet Place. The plot, super bare bone basic, but what made that movie stand out was that the director really made it so that the sound direction carried the show. So it was something that was nuanced. And then he went into this tangent about saying how Alien is one of the best movies on Earth. In his opinion. And I'm like, wait, what? Aliens? Like, we're talking about thriller aliens? And we're like, yeah, that aliens. And I'm like, really? Isn't Aliens just like a horror movie or like a scary movie? And he was like, that's what it is on the surface level. But if you go deeper down, there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of themes about religion and other stuff. And I'm like, really? And it's like, really? And I'm like, holy shit, okay. Obviously, it's been a long time since I watched Alien. Don't remember Jack at all, but when he was talking about Life of Pi, the layers, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, all these layers, and I'm like, okay, I get it. He is someone who has too much knowledge. He is someone that literally needs that deeper meaning, hidden layers. Like, there needs to be something more than just a simple cookie cutter plot. Because he literally told me, Oshi No Ko, super vanilla. The mom dying, vanilla. The mother-child relationship, vanilla. And I'm like, the revenge story trying to find their dad, vanilla. And I'm like, oh my god, this guy's like, his requirements for a show is like very on point. But after understanding what he's really, talking about, I understood. His palette for just entertainment is refined. If we're talking about wine, I am like your Joe Schmo on the street, everything and anything probably would wow me and send me out of this world. But for my friend, though, he's like a sommelier. He's a sommelier in the sense that, oh, this guy, if you give him something and he tries it, he could tell you exactly what year, what it is, and what's wrong with it. And I'm like, oh my god. My friend is a true entertainment sommelier, if that made sense. But let me know what you guys think about Oshi No Ko. I personally like it quite a bit. Honestly speaking, it is something I enjoy, but I can kind of see why it's definitely not for everyone. It's definitely a show that is simple to follow, that doesn't have too many layers. If you are a sommelier, a critic, like my friend, who definitely requires many hidden layers. As usual, I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was interesting that there was someone who I thought for sure was going to enjoy it that didn't enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think about the show. I really enjoyed it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But obviously, there are definitely people who don't like it. So let me know down in the comment section down below. I just wanted to talk about that. Yeah, that's basically about it. See ya.